स्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ नमः प्रणवार्थाय शुद्धज्ञानैकमूर्तये निर्मलाय प्रशान्ताय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। सर्ववेदान्त सिद्धान्त
सर्ववेदान्त
तमगोचरम्
गोचरं तमगोचरं
गोविन्दं परमानन्दं
गोविन्दं परमानन्दं
सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्।
सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्।
We are now looking at the whole Jagat, but with specific reference to where we make the biggest mistake about I. What is Sthula Sharira, what is Sukshma Sharira. Our Tattvabodha has very detailed reference to these. How is Sthula Sharira formed? How is Sukshma Sharira formed? How each element of the Sukshma Sharira formed? What is the action of each of these elements? All that is there. Who is the Devata for each one? All that is there in there. But I think here it does not go into that detail, but still talks about these elements, Sthula Sukshma Sharira, which Jayaji has kindly agreed to sum up. But we have a couple of more verses to finish, and then we can do this. Where did we leave it off yesterday in the last class?
Page 175, Swamiji.
175. This is the, who is going to read? I would suggest you read the verse again, verse number 31, and then start from wherever we left off.
Swamiji, shall I read?
Yes, please do.
Verse 31. Avyaktanamni paramesha shaktihi anadya vidya trigunaatmika para karyanumeya sudhiyaiva maya yaya jagat sarvamidam prasuyate.
Okay. Where did we leave it yesterday? So the last class?
175, we have to start, Swamiji.
Which paragraph?
Starting paragraph. The vastu in the form of knowledge.
Okay.
Swamiji, before we head into that, on the previous description, before we head into that paragraph, on the previous statement, I have a question.
I'm sorry, I find it difficult to understand when Deepa speaks. Am I the only one having a problem, or is the others able to make out what she's saying? There's a distortion when it comes to me.
It's a little feeble, that's all.
Can you hear me, Swamiji, now?
I can hear you, but it's not very clear. Maybe my problem, okay? I'm not saying that either an internet problem or your problem, but fact is that I find it difficult to understand. I think the system that we're using...
She has a question from the previous paragraph.
Yeah.
So,
okay, I'll listen carefully.
Yeah. So it is about the description of Maya, the same 31 phrase which Raviji had read now. The last statement says, her existence is to be inferred from her effects by a person with a clear mind. This is so it is about Maya, which is ignorance. A person with a clear mind that ignorance will go off, right? That jnanam will come. And what to infer her effects out of
No,
this?
no, clear mind does not mean jnani. Clear mind here, sad buddhi, sudhi, if you remember what the word used in the verse, sudhi. Dhi means, dhi is buddhi. Sudhi is one whose buddhi is clear, is not, it's opposite of durbuddhi. You know, whose mind is focused and whose mind remains undistracted with other things.
Bluetooth mode.
Such a person with such a buddhi, will look at the world and say, these are all trigunatmika. Everything is trigunatmika. And therefore, there must be a source for this. Where do the three gunas come from? So his question in his own mind, because he's got a Sudhi, he's a Sudhi, question in his mind will be, where does it come from? How come everything in the Jagat is Trigunatmika? And then it is back, he says, there therefore must be a single source. Because Maya is intangible. You cannot know Maya by itself. You cannot say that I will know Maya because you can't perceive it, you can't see it, you can't do anything with it. But because of the karya of Maya, you infer that there is something, and that is called Maya. So the presence of Maya is inferred by its product. Like that, there are many things. You know, they say, for example, how do you know there is Ishvara? Because everything in the Jagat is so beautifully arranged. You know, you look at the cosmos. In the cosmos, or just take our solar system for that matter, if the sun were a little cooler or a little farther away from the earth, we can't have life on the earth. Everything will freeze. Or if it is a little closer, everything will burn. Life won't be there. How accurately that is said so that there is life. How the atmosphere is created in such a fashion that life can prosper. How the movement of the various planets and stars are so beautifully aligned. I always remember, you know, in these military drills, they show motorbikes. You know, they go crisscross like that at a great speed. They don't hit each other. You're always worried the fellow will hit the other fellow. I'm sure you've seen these shows, these military exhibitions of their skills. Something like that. All these are rotating at a certain speed. They're revolving at a certain speed. They're moving around at a certain speed. But maintain their thing correctly. If the earth were to move instead of one full circle in 24 hours, if it were to move in 23 hours, you know what will happen? We'll all get thrown out of the earth. There's something called a centrifugal force. We'll all get thrown out. But it's perfectly balanced against the centripetal force. So we can stay on the earth. In fact, in one of the other classes, we discussed this. If you look at the movement of the earth, the rotation of the earth, you know that the circumference of the earth is approximately 24,000 miles. Miles, not kilometers. And if you take a man on the equator, he does a complete cycle in 24 hours. Correct? One full cycle, he comes back to the same spot. So he travels 24,000 miles in 24 hours. What speed do you think he's traveling at? 1,000 kilometers per hour. You can't even feel it. In fact, I am personally very flummoxed by this. When I was a child, I saw this, when I first heard about the diameter of the earth, and I've never found an answer to this. How come we don't get at that speed, we don't get dizzy, or we don't get into other problems? Very clear explanations are available, but I'm just saying, look at just that fact. If the earth were to suddenly stop, we'll all be thrown out. Not even stop, but it will just slow down by 10%. You can't stay on the earth. All these things are maintained. And so what do you infer from there? That there has to be an intelligence which is controlling all this, some form of intelligence. And therefore we say there is an intelligence, I call it God, a super intelligence. So I infer the presence of God.
Okay.
Yeah. Like that Maya, you infer because as you study more and more and you understand that Brahman doesn't create anything. And Brahma is Ekameva Advitiyam Brahman. We're going to talk about all this.
Okay.
And yet, so many things are, in quotes, created. How did it created? What is the nature of all those created things? Triguna. So what is it that created all this? There must be something which created all this. Let's give it a name. We will call it Maya.
Okay.
That's how we infer. There are many things we infer, We don't actually see the thing every time. That is one of our methods of learning something, knowing something. Inference. This is one of them. We infer the presence of something which is the cause for all of these things. All of things that exist here, all of which are Triguna.
Okay.
Having done all this, remember, we are going to eventually negate it. But for the moment, you say, okay, there is Maya.
Okay.
And I don't have any control over Maya. I don't know what that is. But when I begin to understand what Maya is, I have total control over Maya. I am Ishvara. I am Mayinam. And when I go to even greater understanding, there is no Maya, there is no Karya, there is nothing. So that is the stages of growth we will see. Okay, shall we? Have you read through the verse, no? Huh?
Yes, Swamiji, read the verse.
Hmm.
Should I also read the meaning of the verse?
Just read the meaning, don't read the word meaning.
Yeah.
So we know you can connect. When you read, you'll connect to this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure everybody, by having read this already once, when you read this, you will probably get most of it. You will get Avyakta Namni. Namni is one which has, by which name it is known. Paramesha Shaktihi, Shakti of Parameshwara. Anadi Avidya, Anadya Vidya. All that you can read, and just the meaning read you read once.
Yes, Swamiji. That Maya, through which this whole world is born, is called Avyakta, unmanifest, and is the power of the limitless Lord. She is the beginningless ignorance of the nature of the three gunas, that is Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, and superior to her effects. Her existence is to be inferred from her effects by a person with a clear mind. Swamiji, here again, I think the example of a magician and a magic works really well. So I was just thinking through it, and like if we just go for a magic show where a kid is there and an adult is there, like by just looking at that magic show, a kid will, just by looking at the effects of what the outcome of that magic, the kid will take it to be real. Okay, how did that person cut this person into two? And how did he make this person join into two? Like that seems to be real. But for a person who is like a little bit adult, who can see that, okay, this is not real, there is a trick. I don't know the trick, but it looks real.
Ah.
So that is the person with a clear mind who can see there is a trick behind this, but it is not real.
Instead
So
of calling it a trick, we call it Maya.
exactly. Yes, Swami. And once that person knows the trick, there's no magic at all.
Mayan. He's a magician. Yes,
Yeah.
Divyan.
Swamiji, here Maya is called Avyakta. That only becomes Vyakta as a Jagat, right?
It becomes Vyakta, correct, as the product, as its product. Yep.
The Vastu in the form of knowledge is gained in the Buddhi alone. If the Buddhi is slim, slow, and lacks the Shraddha, then it is not ready to understand the Shastra. Even when the Buddhi is alert, it may still not accept what the Shastra says because of a certain emotional background. There is a child sitting inside the mind and it wants attention. So it pulls back the Buddhi by saying, no, no, you do not know anything. What do you know? I do not think you have understood. This self-criticism is a problem. It does not allow you to assimilate what you have understood. If someone else criticizes you, you will think that person has a problem in understanding you. You can let the person think what he or she wants. You need not convince the person. But if you criticize yourself, you had it. Everybody has a critic sitting inside who can be a stumbling block in gaining this knowledge. Bhagavan's Maya is also called avidya. We do not say Bhagavan has got ignorance. The Lord does not have ignorance. That is why he is Sarvajna, all-knowing. Maya is his power. From what is said in this verse, it may appear that there are two realities.
I was just going to say that, these words we have to use because there's no choice. How do you convey something like this? So you have to say, okay, this is the Lord's power. That means there's a Lord and there's a power. Although the power cannot exist without its adhishthanam. No power can exist, no guna can exist without the adhisthana. But it appears as if there are two things. Yeah.
Yes, Swamiji. From what is said in this verse, it may appear that there are two realities, Atma and Maya. If there are two different realities, then there is no more non-duality. So, is this Maya separate from the Vastu? What is the ontological status of Maya? That is explained in the next verse. Sanyapya sanyapyubhayatmikano भिन्नाप्य भिन्नाप्युभयात्मिकानो संघाप्यनंघाह्युभयात्मिकानो हुभयात्मिकानो महाद्भूता निर्वचनीय रूपा.
Very beautiful verse. Sanna api means sat api. That becomes sanna api.
Sat na api.
Sanna api, sorry, sanna api. So nakara at that nakara, sanna api. Asat na api. It's neither sat nor asat. Nor the two together. Ubhayatmika, no, this no, somewhere you will see no become naha. Somewhere it is no, here it is actually, it doesn't become nama, it is na-u becomes no. All sandhi. So if you see a no or na, you see where the context and how it splits. So here it is no, na-u. So it is neither classified as sat, nor can be classified as asat. No, but it's a combination of two, that also is not there. He is negating everything. It is bhinna api, bhinna from the vastu, Brahman. Abhinna api na. Ubhaya api na. It is not. Look at this. Our biggest problem is saying Brahman cannot create the Jagat. Maya also cannot create the Jagat by itself. Therefore, somehow we have to get it in our mind that Maya, in the presence of Brahman, creates the world, the Jagat. And then you have to understand the first line. But Maya is neither Sat nor Asat nor combination of the two. Nor is it the same as Brahman, nor is it different from Brahman. Nor is it a combination of same and different. Sangapi, Anangapi. Na. Sa Anga is Sanga. Sa Anga is with parts. Anga is parts. Ananga is without Anga, negation. Ubhayatmika api, no. Mahadbhuta, very, very wondrous object because it is nirvachaniya rupa, anirvachaniya rupa. Its very nature is something that cannot be defined in words. So we saw it can't be seen, it can't be perceived, it can't be expressed in any way. That's Maya. Yes, Divyansh.
So, Swamiji, do we say that we can only talk about Maya in terms of negation?
You have to, because ultimately there's no way of defining Maya. We will see. I'm sure in the text, Swamiji will talk more about how to define it. So far, it's only saying it is not Sat, it is not Asat, it's not a combination. And yet somehow you have to grasp the idea of Maya. It is Sat because we see the Jagat. Therefore, in a sense, it is Sat. But whole Sat and whole Maya is all Mithya. It's not Asat. I mean, it is neither Asat nor Sat nor a combination. Anirvachaniya is the only word you can say. But we will read that. We will read what Swami just said and maybe make out more of it. Yes, Ratnamji.
I mean, I was wondering why Brahman is called a Vastu in all these paragraphs.
Okay. In normal usage, Vastu is object. That's our daily usage. But look at the meaning. Even in Tamil, we say Vastavam. Where does that come from? Vastu is
The truth.
Tattvata. So in Vedanta, when you say Vastu, it refers to Brahman. It's the only truth.
Okay, Swami.
Yeah. Shall we continue?
Yes, Swamiji. So the Maya is just real as long as it is seen as real.
Oh, read the word meaning again.
Yes, Swamiji. Yeah. I'm not reading that, Swamiji. I was just saying my thought.
Okay.
Yeah. Sat na api cannot be said as real. Asat na api cannot be said as non-existent. Ubhayatmika na u cannot indeed be said as combined in nature. Bhinna api na u is not separate from Brahman. Abhinna api na u is not non-separate from Brahman. Ubhayatmika na u is not indeed combined in nature. Sangha, so I think they have given it as Sangha. It should be Sangha.
No, Sangha is correct. Sa Anga is
Okay,
Sangha.
Sangha. Okay. So Sangha api.
Sangha would mean attachment. Relation. This is Sa Anga.
Yes, Swamiji.
Sangha. Angena Saha.
Okay, Swamiji. Sa Anga api na u is not one possessed of parts. Swamiji, they are saying it's parts only. Right? So, oh.
I'm sorry?
Oh, Angena Saha. Okay, Swamiji.
Angena Saha.
Okay,
Angena Saha.
Got it, Swamiji.
With parts.
Yes, Swamiji. It's not one possessed of parts. Ananga na u, nor is it one without parts. Ubhayatmika na u is not indeed combined in nature. Mahadbhuta, she is a great wonder. Anirvachaniya Rupa cannot be categorically explained. Maya cannot be said as real or non-existent or combination of real and non-existent. It's not separate or non-separate from Brahman, nor combined in nature of separate and non-separate. Does not have parts, nor is partless or combined in nature. She is a great wonder and cannot be categorically explained. This Maya is not Sat. You cannot call it Satya ontologically because it does not exist independently. It is also not Asat, non-existent. If it were so, there will be no effect from it. But the Shastra said earlier that Maya is the power of the Lord and also inferred from its effect. Therefore, we cannot dismiss Maya as non-existent and we cannot also accept it as Sat. Can we say it is both Sat and Asat? A little of Sat and a little of Asat? No, it cannot be both. As the Sat and Asat cannot exist together. They are opposed to each other and cannot stay in the same locus at the same time. No existent thing can coexistent with a non-existent thing. Therefore, Maya cannot be both Sat and Asat. So it is in between, Mithya.
Sat asadbhyam
Anirvachanam.
nirvachanam.
Maya is not separate from Brahman, just as the pot is not separate from clay. And it is not a part or quality of Brahman also because Brahman is without any qualities. Just as the pot is not the quality of the clay, because the clay exists even without the pot, so too Brahman exists without Maya, and therefore Maya is not the quality of Brahman. Again, Maya cannot be both part of Brahman and separate from it at the same time. Maya does not have avayava, limbs. Anything that has limbs is born. But Maya is beginningless, so it cannot have limbs. We cannot say it is niravayava, without limbs, because the world which is full of parts has come from it. Again, Maya cannot be with and without limbs at the same time. We cannot say it is non-existent, nor can we say it is existent. We cannot say it is away from Brahman, much less can we say it is a part of Brahman. Neither can we say it has limbs, nor can we say it has no limbs. Therefore, it is anirvachaniya, not subject to categorical explanation. Anirvachaniya does not mean inexplicable. It means it cannot be explained categorically. This anirvachaniyatva flows in every object of the creation. Therefore, you cannot say about any object that this object is this much alone. If you do so, then it is not true. It is labeling. Then you become judgmental. Therefore, the golden rule is always just see what is in front. All you can say about Maya is that Maya is. How do you say so? This is described in the next verse. Avyaktametat trigunair niruktam tat karanam nama shariramatmanah sushuktiretasya vibhaktyavastha pralina sarven indriya buddhivrittihi. Etat, this avyaktam, unmanifest Maya,
Swamiji, I have
trigunai.
one question.
Yes. Well, they
Uh,
see one hand up. Yes, Divyan.
So, like in the previous words, it is said that Maya is not known separate from Brahman. So, like, doesn't this hold true?
What?
Maya is not known separate from Brahman.
Maya doesn't even exist. Ekameva Advitya Brahman. That is where we're going to end up. But at the moment, we are still looking at the Jagat and saying Jagat is. Because I am, and the I that I am defining as I is the Sharira. Therefore, I am, and the whole Jagat is, because I interact with the Jagat. Whole Jagat is. How did the Jagat come? Therefore, I postulate something called Maya. And that Maya cannot be the same as Brahman. That Maya cannot be, because Brahman cannot produce anything. Nor it can it be separate from Brahman, because there are no two things. Nor can it be a combination. So at this stage, it is the word you use, only negated, only defined by negation. Yes, Deepa.
Swamiji, I'm deviating a little bit from the study with respect to Maya and Atma definition. Atma, real, Maya, Mithya, whatever it was said earlier, right? And I see that the so-called jnanis or the learned person, pandits, everyone, just do a masculine domination or oppression of females, thinking that male masculine is that high level Atma, the real thing, and female is Maya. They imply those characteristics to male human beings and female human beings. What is your explanation on
I'm
that?
again going to have to seek help. Like I said, it's not your problem, it's my problem, but somebody has to
He said that.
reword that for us.
Swamiji, her question is slightly deviating from this current topic, and she is asking that Shastra generally refers to Brahman mostly in a masculine sense and Maya Shakti in a feminine sense. And she's asking, what is your view about it?
Like a Shiva Shakti.
Brahman, there is no gender. In many places you will find in the Upanishads, it's called it. Some places it's also called, also used, feminine is used for that. You cannot have a gender for something which have any qualities. Brahman has no characteristics, no qualities. How can you say masculine or feminine? But when you are still trying to figure out this Jagat, at that stage, it is said that this Ardhanarishwara is that one portion is Purusha and the other portion is Prakriti or Maya. And that is, then you split all that and say all the Shakti roots, all the same. I can quote to you, I don't off the top of my head remember, but there are many places where, for example, I think it was in Kathopanishad, if I remember right, this knowledge, this Upanishads, and therefore that is Brahman, is referred to Ruma. Ganga is referred to Jnanam. They're all feminine. And there are many places where you will find it is referred to by the neuter gender. So there's no, you cannot attach a gender to it. You don't have a gender for Brahman. So therefore, anything else after that it becomes not follow up. Yes, Divyansh.
Swamiji, one question from the previous verse only. So you said that there is only Brahman, right? Maya is not. So, but some people like talk about different orders of reality, like Vyavaharik Jagat and Paramarthik Jagat, and you are teaching us. So you also must be like in a Vyavaharik sense, you are still teaching us, right? So, what is the point? Like, if everything is Brahman and a realized person sees it as it is, so like,
You're
what's
right.
the point?
When you get there, when we do Mandika we will read Gaudabacharya's Karika. And he will say, there is no Guru, there is no Shishya, there is nothing. There is only Brahman. But I have to go to that stage, no? I can't suddenly go there because I have a Guru sitting in front of me. I am sitting here. How can I say there is no Guru, no Shishya? I have to reach that stage of understanding. It will come. In due time, by the time we get to reach to study Mandika Karika, which is more or less toward the last things we will be doing, you will see that there is nothing. See, in many of these texts, we see this. But when we now see this, we don't really go into an analysis of that. But as we study further, we'll slowly go into detailed analysis. But the process is the same. I have to, what are the three things that we're trying to understand? What is the Jagat? What is Ishvara? And what is the Tattva or the nature of I? So the process is first you look at the Jagat. And you arrive at the fact that Jagat, everything in Jagat is a Karya. And you establish that Karya cannot be different from the Karanam. So you start with that Karya, Karanam, and then say, there is, Jagat itself is non-self-existent. It is created by Ishvara, sustained by Ishvara, and is resolved by Ishvara. That Ishvara we give three forms. Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. But it's all the same, Ishvara only. Then what has happened? You started with three, you reduced it to two. Now I have to only understand Ishvara, the nature of Ishvara, and nature of I. So you go to studying, understanding Ishvara. That also is a step. A lot of analytical thinking is to go into understanding Ishvara. As initially as Jagat Karanam, and then all the other characters you can think of, Sarvajna, Sarvashaktiman, Karma Phaladata, all of those we think of as Ishvara. Then we go to saying what is the real nature of Ishvara. And that is where you look at the real nature of Ishvara as Brahman. We have, in the process of climbing into this thing, we have started with the Jagat and we have slowly eliminated the Jagat, but still have something which has created the Jagat, because the Jagat Karanam Brahma is Ishvara. But Brahman doesn't make anything, Brahman doesn't create anything. So what is it that creates anything? We say, therefore, I'm going to use a phrase which is, you have to be very careful in using, don't repeat it. Brahman plus Maya is Ishvara. So we have an Ishvara. Ishvara creates the Jagat, Ishvara maintains the Jagat, Ishvara resolves the Jagat. But when you poke into it carefully, then that everything disappears, only Brahman plus Maya. Then Maya, when you're able to negate, what is left is Brahman. Now, in the process of doing this, all the mistakes that I made about I, they also go, because everything that I thought was I has gone into Jagat. But I still know I is there. So at the end of it, what is left? One Brahman and one I. And the only way that can exist is if Brahman and I are the same. There is no two different things. So that is the process we will go through. Okay. So at various stages, you will hear all these things. You will hear saying that there are two orders of reality. There is no two orders. There is only Brahman. But to understand the Jagat, understand Maya, understand all of these things, we talk about two orders of reality, that this reality is a ephemeral reality, this will disappear, this is nothing to do with the real reality. Therefore, waking hours is reality, dream hours, another reality. The dream hours I recognize when I wake up as ephemeral, as non-existent. All that we will say, and then we say, okay, there are this waking hours also an order of reality. There is a Paramarthika reality. That also we'll recognize. Then we study Dakshinamurti Stotram and we will read that the whole Jagat we saw is nothing but what may be like a reflected image. Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari Tulyam Nijantargatam Pashyannatmani Mayaya Bahirivod Bhutam Yatha Nidraya. That means sleep, dream. Yes, Sakshat Kurute Prabodha Samaye Yat Sakshat Kurute Prabodha Samaye
Swatmanam
Svatmayam
Mana
me
Eva
mavadvayam.
Swatma Atma Eva Advayam. From this misconception we have, when we recognize, when we wake up from the misconception, there is only Ekameva Advitya Brahman. And that Brahman has to be I. There is some way to go to get there, but I'm giving you the whole process now so that you know the layout, you know where we're going. Okay? Yes, sir.
Etat, this avyaktam, unmanifest Maya, trigunaihi, in the form of three gunas, niruktam, explained, tat, that, atmanaha, of the Atma Karanam Shariram Nama, is called causal body. Pralina Sarva Indriya Buddhi Vrittihi, in which all activities of the senses and mind are resolved. Sushuptihi, sleep. Etasya, of this. Vibhakti Avastha, distinct state. This unmanifest Maya is explained in the form of the three gunas, and it is called the causal body of the Atma. Sleep is Atma's distinct state, in which all the activities of the senses and the mind are resolved. This Maya is unmanifest, which means there are no names and forms at the causal level. It was said earlier that it has three gunas, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, which are not directly perceived in Maya, but inferred from its effect, the world, where these three qualities manifest in the form of knowing, activity, and inertness, respectively. Not only that, there is the manifestation of these three gunas also in your mind. The qualities like amanitva, dambhitva, etc. are the expressions of sattva guna. Desire, anger, greed, etc. are the expressions of rajoguna, and laziness and sleep are the manifestation of tamoguna. From these, we understand that Maya, their cause, is also trigunatmika. This Maya is the upadhi of the Atma and is known as Karana Sharira, causal body. It is Sharira because it is subject to destruction or disappearance totally. When a Jivan Mukta dies, there is Videha Mukti, and there is no more Jiva left. All the three Shariras, Stula, Sukshma, Karana, resolve. What obtains is Brahma Vastu alone, which is again Ishvara for the rest of the Jivas. Maya is present in all the three states of experience.
Swamiji?
Yeah.
Swamiji, just a confusion, Swamiji. When a Jivan Mukta dies, there is Videha Mukti and there is no more Jiva left. Swamiji, when we say Jiva, we mean Atma, right, Swamiji? So no more Jiva left. Like how
Jiva,
do
what we call Jiva is an Astu Atma, reflected Atma, for want of a better word.
okay, Swamiji. Yes, yes. Okay.
Yeah, that is not there.
Yes, Swamiji.
Maya is present in all three states of experience. Both in the waking and dream states, it is manifest in the form of subject-object experience. But in the deep sleep state, it is there without this subject-object manifestation. In the waking state, the senses and the mind are active. In the dream, the senses are not active, but the mind is present. But in sleep, all the activities of the senses and the mind are resolved. Who is this limitless self?
We will, before we go into that, let's talk for a few minutes on this issue. I have laid out typically what is the path for a seeker. It is not the traditional way of doing it. But I have experienced myself some level of confusion when I started the study. I didn't know where it was heading. But I knew it had to have a direction. I knew there was some truth in what the Upanishads say. And I was waiting for that to unfold. But in the process, it did create some confusion. And I'm seeing that confusion in the way questions are formulated now for many of you. Same kind of confusion that I went through. Because we have this recognition of I, a false recognition, but a recognition all the same, which is convincing. And we have a recognition of this Jagat. What we do have is the mind, and we have some idea of what is Ishvara. The reason you're coming and sitting in the classes is because there are questions about all three. But these questions are on a backdrop of the various assumptions that I have about myself, about Jagat, and about Ishvara. And then I start the study and I get to see things like your Ishvara. Because although that is really something that should come in the later stage, no way can you avoid saying that. At the same time, it says you have to cleanse your mind by various punya karmas, like prayer, etc. I got very confused. If I am Ishvara, and if I'm to pray to Ishvara, who is to pray to whom? I was confused. Like that, there were several things. The only thing I did at that time was, after the initial hump, I told myself, look, you have come to understand something. And the guru that you've chosen is somebody who knows what he's saying. He is only following what is given in the Shastra. And you start with a certain confidence, certain Shraddha in the Shastra. Therefore, you don't, despite the confusion, either you go and try and clarify the confusion each time, that also we do, or you wait. You continue to do Shravana, you continue to do your own contemplative thinking, your own discussion perhaps with other students, with the teacher, with everybody. And gradually, what will happen is the questions that are now in the mind relating largely to the mithya objects will slowly transform into questions about the nature of Satyam. That also is something which I have to understand. I have been talking about saying that there are these whole ranges in everything that you can think of in the Jagat. Knowledge to Jnanam. This is all worldly. Ananda to Dukkha. In everything, there is this whole continuum. But I have been talking about this, hoping that some of you will understand, some of you will say, what is this he's talking about? Saying that there is something which transcends this entire range. We talk about past and present and future. And initially, our mind finds it very difficult to see or perceive anything which is not within this, which is not within the whole range of Ananda to Dukkha, which is not within the whole range of very high number to very low number. But as we do this, the mind also becomes more and more geared to understand this. And therefore, the questions change. But I have taken a slightly different route because this is, I'm hoping, by and large, a very thinking set of people who have had some exposure. In fact, some of you have very large exposure to adequate Shravanam. Therefore, you know where you're going. Otherwise, when we start traditional teaching of Vedanta, you don't know where you're going. You are still sort of swimming, trying to figure out, till slowly other things which are irrelevant, they drop on the wayside. And the focus becomes only on that Vastu and I. So I have deliberately taken that route. If that causes some confusion in your mind, please stay with it. They will get resolved. I've always said, after about some years of this kind of study, because remember, I started this study more than 40, 50 years ago. After some years of study, I recognized something, that this is a knowledge which has been passed on from teacher to student for more than tens of thousands of years. And in the process, there have been tens of thousands of students who understood. Despite Bhagavad Gita saying only very few people understand, very few out of the 8-9 billion people is still a very large number. And therefore, I was willing to patiently wait, saying that if I have this question, not that I don't ask, I do go and ask them, sometimes discussion with the other students, sometimes with the teacher. Something is bothering me very sharply at one point of time. I remember asking questions about Pramana, because that's an area which I had a lot of questions in my mind. So I went to Swamiji and asked about Pramana. What happens when a teacher teaches a student? But you have to think about it. Those will all come up. But basically, I recognize that there are people who are more intelligent than I am, more knowledgeable than I am, who have studied this, who have asked the same questions and more, and they've got their answers. So all I have to do is to patiently continue to do my Shravanam without getting disturbed or without getting disheartened, which is what I did. So I'm saying that when you have this kind of path, you will always be looking, saying, where are we in the path? How are we going? Don't worry too much about it. It will come. Don't let that become a point of confusion. That's something I wanted to actually talk for a few minutes. And the fact that we have this kind of class where anybody can ask any kind of question, which is free, because when one person asks a question, everybody gains. Believe you me, I gain too. When I have these questions, I have to think and I have to relate to other things and bring out the answer in a fashion that's understandable. And my attempt is to see that in every class, everybody, from the person who studied this for many, many years and therefore very knowledgeable already, to the person who's started more recently and is still trying to get there, everybody has a takeaway. And that in this kind of class is possible because it's an open class. More difficult in a regular Vedanta class. So I want to just talk about, I'll take another 2 minutes to talk about Sharira. Because next class I'm going to invite Jayaji to talk about Sharira. It's already quite late. The word Sharira, Shriyate iti Sharira, that which declines, decays. If you apply the definition, everything in the world is Sharira. Everything in the world decays. So by that definition, everything is Sharira. In fact, the other term that we use for the body is Deha, which is Dahana Yogya, which eventually burns. That also is Deha. But in the context of this initial understanding, we take our own source of error, which is this physical body and everything else that it seems to contain. All the mind, intellect, ahankara, all the indriyas, all the pranas, which our Shastra define as Sukshma Sharira. All of them are called Sharira. But please don't immediately imagine a Sharira with 2 hands, 2 legs, and a head, and so on. That is not the meaning of the word Sharira. We start with the Sthula Sharira, which has all this 2 hands, 2 legs, 2 eyes, etc. And therefore it seems to fit. So when you now then talk about Sukshma Sharira, it becomes confusing. What are we talking about? And then it becomes even more difficult to understand when you go to Karana Sharira. So first we clear this whole idea of what a Sharira is. Sharira is not necessarily one which has a body, a form, etc. Sharira is only something that decays. All of these things will decay. By the time we start this analysis in the next class, I see Ratnamji has a hand up. No. Okay. Oh, no. That's not your hand, that's my hand. Sorry. It was looking white, so it's looking different. Normally, when you put up a hand, it's yellow in color. Then I think my pointer was there and that's showing hand. So understand that. And when we start next class, we will start on this issue of the 3 Sharira Trayam. Where our mistake is. And then we will open it out for discussions so that we get absolute, as much as possible, clarity on the Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharira. When we do Mandikya Upanishad, there's a lot of detailing on this, but we don't go there today. We only look at the level that we want to look at these 3 Sharira. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरिः ओम।
ओम
श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः।
नमः।
हरिः
हरिः
ओम।
ओम
हरि ओम।
स्वामी।